Welcome to Book Summary Podcast, your gateway to personal transformation. Each episode delivers big ideas from the world's most impactful books on mindset, productivity, and success, all in just a few minutes. Ready to turn knowledge into action? Let's get started.
Welcome, fellow explorers, to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're embarking on a journey inspired by Morgan Housel's really insightful book, Same as Ever.
It's a fascinating read.
It really is. In a world that feels like it's constantly spinning faster, throwing new challenges and technologies at us practically every day.
Yeah, it's dizzying sometimes.
Housel proposes this, kind of radical idea that beneath all this surface-level change, some things remain fundamentally, enduringly the same.
The constants.
Exactly. We're not just sifting through, transient facts here. Our mission today is to uncover those deep, unchanging patterns of human behavior.
The stuff that's always shaped our past.
And will inevitably shape our future, too. Think of it as a shortcut, maybe, to understanding the enduring truths that sort of preview what to expect.
No matter who you are or where you're from.
Right.
And that truly is the profound question, isn't it? It's one that Amazon founder Jeff Bezos captured perfectly.
Oh, yeah, I remember this quote.
He said, I almost never get the question, what's not going to change in the next 10 years? And I submit to you that that second question is actually the more important of the two.
That really makes you think. Focus on the constants.
Exactly. Identify those bedrock truths, the things you can confidently build on, rather than just chasing every fleeting trend.
It reminds me a bit of Naval Ravikant.
Yeah. His idea of wanting to be successful in 999 parallel universes.
Right, basically factoring luck out by focusing on those universal truths, things that hold up no matter what.
Precisely. And our goal today is to unearth these little laws of life, as Housel calls them, from the rich source material you've shared.
Offering you, the listener, a deeper understanding of these enduring patterns that are going to continue to influence our world.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And to kick us off, we're diving into a fascinating, maybe slightly uncomfortable nugget of truth.
Okay.
Something that really underpins everything else. The sheer, surprising fragility of our reality. It's a reminder that the ground beneath our feet, it's rarely as solid as we think it is. Okay, so let's unpack this core idea from Housel. He argues the world often hangs by a thread, and as he puts it so well, risk is what you don't see.
That's the key phrase.
We humans, we're incredibly skilled at predicting the future, right? We plan meticulously for scenarios we can imagine.
We build models, crunch data.
Contingency plans for everything. But if we're so good at planning, what is it fundamentally that makes us so consistently blind to these huge game-changing surprises?
Beyond just not seeing them, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, it's because the true nature of risk, as House explains it, often shows up in unfathomable ways.
Unfathomable ways.
These are events that don't just come out of nowhere, but they also compound. They ripple outwards in directions we just couldn't foresee.
Right. Makes genuine prediction almost impossible.
Almost, yeah. Which is why Nassim Taleb's advice is so powerful, even if it feels counterintuitive.
The preparedness, not prediction idea.
Exactly. Invest in preparedness, not in prediction. He's not saying be passive. He's saying focus on building resilience for the unknowns.
Rather than betting everything on a specific forecast that's probably wrong anyway.
Precisely. And the source material really brings this home with some, frankly, harrowing personal stories.
And some really striking historical examples, too.
Yeah, they just underscore how much of life is governed by pure, unadulterated chance.
Okay, let's get into one of those. This is where it gets really chilling. Morgan Housel himself shares what he calls the scariest day of his life.
Wow.
An experience that just profoundly shaped how he understands this whole concept. It was February 21st, 2001.
Okay.
He was a teenager, a ski racer in Lake Tahoe, part of a really close-knit team.
Right.
That month, Tahoe had been slammed by two massive snowstorms. First, several feet of really light, fluffy snow.
From cold air.
Yeah, then followed by 3 feet of heavy, wet snow.
Oh boy, that's not good.
You don't need to be an avalanche expert to know that's textbook unstable conditions, right?
Yeah.
Heavy on top of light.
Recipe for disaster. Absolutely.
But, they were adventurous teenagers, maybe a bit reckless. They weren't really thinking about that.
No, the immediate thrill of fresh powder probably overrides everything else.
Totally. So Housel, along with two of his really close friends, Brendan Allen and Brian Richmond.
Inseparable, he says.
Yeah. They decided to ski out of bounds on the backside of Squaw Valley, looking for that untouched snow.
Of course.
He describes how, like, within seconds of ducking under the ropes and pushing off, he was caught in a small avalanche.
Whoa.
Just floating in a cloud of snow, totally out of control, a terrifying feeling, just being at the mercy of this immense force.
I can't even imagine.
When they finally got down to the road, shaking, okay, they actually joked about it,
Teenagers.
completely failing to grasp how serious it was, what they'd just narrowly escaped.
Mm-hmm.
After hitchhiking back, the adrenaline's still pumping.
Uh-huh.
And Brendan and Brian, feeling kind of bold, I guess, wanted to do a second run. And this is where that random, unforeseeable, thoughtless encounter or decision, Hauser writes about, just hits you.
Yeah.
For some reason, he couldn't explain that and still can't now. Housel just didn't want to go on that second run.
Just a feeling.
Yeah. He didn't think it through, didn't calculate the danger again, didn't consult anyone, didn't weigh pros and cons. It was, he says, a complete fluke, a random and thoughtless bit of dumb luck.
Wow.
He just suggested he'd drive around and pick him up instead.
And they went.
They agreed, probably eager for more powder, and went their separate ways. 30 minutes later, Housel gets to the pickup spot.
Yeah.
They weren't there. He waited, drove back to the locker room thinking maybe they went there. Nope.
That sinking feeling.
Oh, absolutely. The silence must have been just awful, the dread starting to creep in.
And the outcome.
Tragically, Brendan and Brian were found later that night by rescue teams, buried under 6 feet of snow in a massive avalanche field,
Oh, God.
barely 10 feet apart. He mentions they were born a day apart, died 10 feet apart, caught in a second, devastating slide.
It's just heartbreaking.
Housel remembers his dad crying, saying he'd never been so happy to see him, and only then did it hit him.
How close he came.
Yeah, that sickening lurch. Realizing how close he was to going on that second fatal run, it was that one single, unplanned, gut-feeling choice.
That almost certainly saved his life.
Yeah. It just highlights the pervasive, utterly unpredictable role of luck, of chance.
It really resonates, doesn't it? It forces you, the listener, to think about those tiny moments in your own life.
Those little choices you don't even register as important at the time.
But they could actually be the most pivotal decision you ever make. Yeah, it's humbling. Really makes you think about the chaos involved.
And that terrifying randomness isn't just personal. History, as Housel documents so well.
It's littered with these moments.
Absolutely. These serendipitous, almost unbelievable turns where the fate of nations, millions of lives, hinged on something tiny and unpredictable.
Like the Battle of Long Island.
Exactly. 1776, a desperate moment in the American Revolution.
Right. Washington's army was in a terrible spot. Outmaneuvered, trapped against the East River.
Pounded by the British, it was a total tactical disaster. By all logic, that should have been the end.
The war over before it really began.
The British had their navy right there. All they needed was to sail up the East River and just obliterate Washington's cornered troops.
And the United States might never have happened.
And the incredible twist, the almost comical thread everything hung on, as historian David McCullough recounted.
It just didn't happen.
The British ships stayed put, couldn't advance. Why?
Because the wind wasn't blowing in the right direction.
It sounds absurd. The destiny of a continent changed by a lack of wind.
It really does. But it underscores Housel's point perfectly, the fragility of it all.
That one uncontrollable thing, that shift in the wind, bought Washington just enough time.
And then an opportune fog rolled in.
Allowing him to orchestrate that miraculous overnight evacuation, ferrying thousands of troops, supplies, across to Manhattan.
An astonishing escape. Purely down to weather.
Yeah.
Not strategy, just luck.
Dumb luck. A powerful reminder that history isn't some neat, logical path. It's a chaotic dance with things you just can't predict.
Absolutely. Then you have the Lusitania in 1915, another chilling one.
Yeah, the captain, William Turner. Maybe trying to save some money.
Decided to shut down a fourth boiler room to save fuel.
A seemingly minor economical decision, but it delayed the ship's voyage by exactly 1 day.
Just 1 day.
And that single day's difference put the Lusitania directly in the path of a German submarine.
Torpedoed. Nearly 1,200 people died.
And that sinking became the trigger, really, the rallying cry for U.S. public support to enter World War I.
If that boiler room had been running.
I've arrived a day earlier, might have missed the U-boat entirely, maybe changed the whole course of the 20th century. All from one cost-saving measure.
Mind-boggling. And there's one more, even more chilling example.
FDR's assassination attempt.
Yeah, 1933. Giuseppe Zangara, a disgruntled bricklayer, really short guy.
Barely 5 feet tall, right?
Couldn't get a clear shot. So he stands on a chair to aim at the newly elected president.
Fires 5 shots.
But instead of hitting FDR, One bullet hits the mayor of Chicago, Anton Cermak, who was nearby.
Cermak died later. FDR, sworn in 2 weeks later, goes on to enact the New Deal.
But if Zangara's aim had been true, John Nance Garner, the conservative VP, becomes president.
And Garner opposed a lot of the New Deal stuff.
Almost certainly wouldn't have enacted those same policies that still shape the U.S. economy and social safety nets today.
It's incredible. Our whole world rests on these tiny threads you'd never even think about. Things that could so easily have gone the other way.
And completely redefined reality as we know it.
It's genuinely mind-boggling how easily things could unravel or be rewoven by these mundane, accidental events.
So the key takeaway, Housel argues,
is that the absurdity of past connections should humble your confidence in predicting future ones.
right. It's not about forecasting specific events. That's a fool's errand.
It's about preparing for the idea of risk, the certainty that surprises will happen.
And that the biggest ones will probably come from where you least expect them.
Like Daniel Kahneman said, the idea that what you don't see might refute everything you believe just doesn't occur to us.
We're so focused on the visible, the quantifiable.
Which leads to that crucial question for you, the listener. How do you prepare for risks you can't even envision?
How do you build resilience when the biggest threats are, by definition, unseen?
The source suggests, like in personal finance, sufficient savings should feel excessive. It should make you wince a little.
Yeah, it's not just about money, though, is it? It's about building buffers everywhere.
Optionality, mental fortitude.
Having that emergency fund that feels almost too big. Or developing diverse skills in your career. Nurturing strong, adaptable relationships.
Designing your life with the flexibility to absorb punches from the completely unexpected.
It's a powerful thought to sit with, especially when the world pushes us to optimize everything, often stripping away those very buffers.
Okay, let's pivot now. From the unpredictable nature of external events to something equally elusive, but maybe more internal.
Our own minds.
Yeah. Specifically, the psychology of happiness. It turns out our expectations often play a much bigger role than we think. So here's a concept that sounds incredibly simple, almost too simple.
Okay.
The first rule of happiness is low expectations.
Oh, sounds almost cynical, doesn't it?
It does. But why is that so hard for us? Why, in a world that, let's face it, objectively gets better for most people by almost any measure?
Health, wealth, information access.
Right. Why does true, lasting contentment often feel like this constantly moving target? We just seem hardwired to keep raising the bar on what's enough or good.
It's a fascinating paradox. And what's even more fascinating is how old this observation is. Montesquieu, writing like 275 years ago.
Wow.
He mused, if you only wish to be happy, this could be easily accomplished, but we wish to be happier than other people.
Ah, the comparison trap.
And this is always difficult, for we believe others to be happier than they are. It's that insidious comparison, that social benchmarking, that really trips us up.
Charlie Munger took it even further, didn't he?
I did. Suggested the world isn't primarily driven by greed, just wanting more, but by envy, wanting more, or seeming to have more than our peers.
An endless, self-defeating game, keeping up with the Joneses, who probably aren't as happy as they look anyway.
Exactly.
To illustrate this, let's dive into a period that gets idealized a lot. The 1950s.
Ah, the nostalgic golden age.
Right. There's this widespread longing for it, a simpler, happier time. But if you look at the objective facts from the source...
Today is dramatically better by most metrics.
Yeah. Median hourly wages, inflation adjusted, nearly 50% higher today than 55. Home ownership is up 12 percentage points.
Food costs have plummeted.
From 29% of a household budget in 1950 down to just 13% today. And workplace deaths.
3 times higher back then.
Astonishing. Yet, despite all that objective progress, the yearning for the good old days persists. Why do you think that is?
It's a classic case of expectations skewing perception, and the source material nails it.
How so?
The 1950s had this relative financial balance, homogeneity. Post-WWII wage controls meant flatter pay.
Smaller gap between low and high earners.
Exactly, which created an era where it was, quote, easy to keep your expectations in check because few people in your social circle lived dramatically better than you did.
So lower wages felt fine because everyone else earned less too.
Pretty much. Smaller homes felt nice because everyone else had smaller homes. There just wasn't as much social pressure or even visibility of huge disparities to inflate your expectations.
Luxuries became necessities much more slowly.
Right. Contrast that with today.
The social media everywhere.
Yeah, ubiquitous presence, constant connectivity. We're bombarded with these curated highlight reels,
Images and stories often inflated, faked, and airbrushed.
which fuels constant comparison on a scale never seen before. It creates dramatically inflated aspirations for wealth, lifestyle, achievement.
Making it incredibly difficult to manage our own expectations. We see everyone else's apparent peaks and feel inadequate.
Exactly, creating an unrealistic baseline for our own happiness.
That really highlights the power of relative wealth, doesn't it? How it shapes contentment.
Oh, massively. We see this contrast so vividly in two anecdotes from the source. Almost perfect mirror images.
Okay, who are they?
First, Ben Ferencz, a Holocaust survivor, grew up in truly abject poverty.
Right.
He found immense pleasure in just a hot meal. Because having fled Romania on the open deck of a ship, endured so much hardship, arriving in America, no matter how basic his circumstances, was an improvement no matter what.
His baseline expectations were just incredibly low. Basic comforts felt profound.
Exactly. Now compare that with Gary Kremen.
The founder of Match.com.
Right. In 2007, 43 years old, worth $10 million in Silicon Valley. Objectively very wealthy.
Should have been set, right? Enjoying life.
You'd think. Yet he felt like nobody here at $10 million. Still working 60, 80 hours a week because he didn't feel he had nearly enough money to ease up.
Wow. So objective wealth means nothing for contentment.
Not necessarily. It's all relative. His normal in that hyper-competitive, ultra-wealthy Silicon Valley environment was just wildly skewed. Trapped him in this endless striving.
The goalposts just kept moving.
Constantly.
And the impact of status change is also really revealing.
Oh, yeah. Will Smith's observation is spot on.
Becoming famous is amazing. Being famous is a mixed bag. Losing fame is miserable.
It's the delta, the change in status, not the absolute level that drives the powerful emotion.
Right. Like President Truman's presidency. Widely seen as successful, partly because...
Expectations were so low. People thought he was just this haberdasher from Missouri.
So any leadership qualities he showed just blew people's minds. A little success was a win. A big success felt like a miracle.
Again, it's the gap between what was expected and what happened. That's where the feeling comes from.
More than the actual achievement sometimes. Like hitting a modest goal feels better than just barely meeting a huge one.
Exactly. So the key takeaway here is that happiness, or the lack of it, it's all about that big gap between expectations and reality.
And we spend so much effort trying to improve our circumstances.
Income, skills, possessions, looks.
But give negligible attention to managing our expectations.
Even though managing expectations is often much more within our control.
That's the irony.
So while striving for more is fine, maybe Charlie Muger's advice is the most pragmatic path to contentment. The first rule of a happy life is low expectations.
It's not about being unambitious, maybe. More about being realistic.
And finding joy in what is, rather than constantly chasing what isn't.
That's a real challenge, though, especially with social media and consumer culture constantly warping our idea of normal.
Absolutely. It forces you, the listener, to ask, how can you proactively manage your expectations in a world designed to inflate them?
How do you find contentment regardless of what everyone else seems to have?
Maybe it's defining your own enough, practicing gratitude actively, curating your information diet.
It's a mental game. Requires constant vigilance, self-awareness.
Definitely. But speaking of things that defy measurement and often trump cold, hard facts.
Let's explore the power of story. And other unmeasurable forces. We often like to believe that facts, pure logic, rational arguments, they should always win, right?
That's the ideal, yeah. The best idea, backed by irrefutable data, moves the world forward.
But history, as our source material keeps showing us, tells a very different story.
Pun intended.
Yeah, maybe. It turns out the best story wins. Not necessarily the best idea or even the most rational one.
Which can feel deeply unsettling if you value empirical truth.
It really can.
But it's just fundamental human psychology, isn't it? Our brains are hardwired for narrative.
Stories evoke emotion.
And they connect the dots in millions of people's heads in a way that dry stats or abstract arguments just can't.
They're like leverage for ideas.
That's a great way to put it. A compelling narrative leverages an idea, gets more impact with less effort, like debt leverages assets.
So a brilliant idea explained badly goes nowhere.
While an old or even wrong idea, told compellingly, can ignite imaginations, change history.
A perfect example, maybe the most iconic, is Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech.
Absolutely legendary.
But what's fascinating and often missed is that the most famous part, the dream part, it wasn't what he'd prepared.
Really?
His advisor, Clarence Jones, had drafted a full, powerful speech, logical arguments, calls to action.
Okay.
But midway through, gospel singer Mahalia Jackson, standing nearby, spontaneously shouts.
Tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream.
Exactly. King looks at her, slides his prepared notes aside, grabs the lectern, and then delivers those iconic, unplanned lines that changed history.
Wow. So it wasn't the planned stuff, it was the spontaneous emotional story.
That struck a chord in a way no purely intellectual argument could have. Raw, authentic narrative power.
Mark Twain understood this too, right? With his editing.
Yeah, reading aloud to his family. If a passage bored them, cut it, mercilessly.
If their eyes widened.
He knew he'd hit a nerve, found a powerful sentence, a compelling moment, doubled down on it. People don't remember books, he knew. They remember sentences, moments.
And this power of retelling, packaging existing info into a better story, it's everywhere.
Like Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens.
Perfect example. Became a global phenomenon. Yet, anthropologists like C.R. Haltike criticized it.
Said the facts weren't new, often got things wrong, not a contribution to knowledge academically.
Yet Harari himself admitted, I did zero new research. It was really reading the kind of common knowledge and just presenting it in a new way.
The result, 28 million copies sold. Most successful anthropology book ever.
Undeniable proof. Best story wins. The packaging, the narrative, the emotional connection often outweighs novelty or even strict accuracy.
Ken Burns is the Civil War documentary, too.
Right. By 1990, the Civil War was maybe the most documented period in U.S. history. Countless books, articles.
Yet Burns's documentary captivated 40 million viewers, won 40 major awards.
All he did was take 130-year-old existing information and weave it into a very good story.
Didn't unearth new facts, just recontextualize them, breathed life into them.
Even deliberately used music aligned with emotional beats. Said music is God in his storytelling.
These examples just show, if you can tell a better story, even with old facts, you can have extraordinary influence, connect with millions.
Which transitions us perfectly into those unmeasurable forces that often underpin these stories, the stuff that defies pure logic.
Lord Kelvin's famous quote,
When you cannot measure, your knowledge is meager and unsatisfactory. Still drives a lot of thinking.
But Jeff Bezos offered that counterpoint.
Yeah, when the anecdotes and the data disagree, the anecdotes are usually right.
That gets data scientists worked up, doesn't it?
It does. There's something wrong with the way you're measuring it, he added. It rings true so often, though. Some of the most important forces just can't be easily quantified.
A stark, almost tragic example, Robert McNamara in Vietnam.
The whiz kid from Ford tried to quantify everything.
Daily charts, body counts, bombing sorties, supply lines, everything measured. Believed if he could measure it, he could control it, win.
But Edward Lansdale, the counterinsurgency expert, pointed out what was missing.
The feelings of the Vietnamese people.
Exactly. Ho Chi Minh's alleged, quote, You will kill 10 of us, and we will kill one of you, but it is you who will tire first.
You can't put that on a chart, but it captured the unmeasurable reality, willpower, national spirit, purpose.
These immeasurable human elements can make all the difference, and because we can't easily put a number on them, we tend to dismiss their power.
Or even deny they exist sometimes.
And that discounting can have devastating consequences, like the Battle of the Bulge.
Caught the American generals completely by surprise, one of the bloodiest U.S. battles.
Because in the rational minds of American generals, it made no sense for Germany to attack.
They knew Germany lacked troops, fuel, food, faced awful weather. All the measurable data said no attack.
But they overlooked how unhinged Hitler had become.
He wasn't rational. Driven by delusion, desperation.
His unmeasurable, illogical leadership trumped all the quantifiable data, led to that devastating surprise attack, prolonged the war.
The generals were so caught up in their logical models, they missed the irrational human driving the enemy.
Even in finance, where numbers are supposedly king, unmeasurable forces often rule.
Lehman Brothers, 2008.
Right. Days before collapse, September 10th, actually had a strong Tier 1 capital ratio, a key measure of financial strength.
Better than some rivals even.
Yet, 72 hours later, Lehman was bankrupt. What changed?
Only investors' faith in the company.
That faith. An utterly unquantifiable human element. Trust. Confidence. That was the only thing that mattered in the end. For robust numbers meant nothing without it.
And we see the flip side with GameStop in 2020, 2021.
Yeah. Objectively, the company looked like it was dying. Brick-and-mortar retailer in a digital age.
But it became this cultural obsession on Reddit, fueled by story, rebellion, emotion.
Millions of retail investors jumping in. Against all fundamental metrics, stock surged to an $11 billion valuation.
In both cases, Lehman and GameStop.
The most important variable was the stories people told themselves. And that was the only thing you couldn't measure and couldn't predict with foresight.
People are always shocked when this happens, but it's often emotions and narratives driving things, not just utility or profit.
Exactly.
So the key takeaway here, the danger, is when people become too McNamara-like, so obsessed with data and so confident in their models that they leave no room for error or surprise.
Right. The world, in its messy reality, is this never-ending chain of absurdity, confusion, messy relationships, and imperfect people.
Not a neat spreadsheet.
Not at all.
So how do you, the listener, identify what's genuinely important versus just good marketing or an intellectually seductive but ultimately unmeasurable force?
It's a critical skill today, isn't it? In this info-rich, wisdom-poor world. Requires looking beyond the numbers, listening to the underlying human currents.
Acknowledging that what's rational to one person can seem crazy to another.
And that powerful incentives and beliefs can get good people to justify almost anything. These messy realities drive our world, and we ignore them at our peril.
Okay, so we've covered unpredictable external events, the power of unmeasurable stories and emotions. Now let's dive into this peculiar, almost cyclical thing.
Okay.
The idea that periods of calm and stability often, paradoxically, plant the seeds of crazy.
Stability breeding instability.
Exactly, leading to complacency, vulnerability. It's this fascinating, ironic dynamic that seems to repeat. A constant swing between greed and fear.
This is a core, really counterintuitive observation from the source, isn't it? The irony that when markets are guaranteed not to crash, or more realistically, when people think that's the case, they are far more likely to crash.
Because stability is destabilizing. How does that work exactly?
Well, a long period of calm, where risks seem low, encourages what seems like a smart, rational move. Bidding asset prices higher.
People get comfortable.
They take more risks, use more leverage, because it feels safe, until eventually those high prices and that built-up leverage cause the instability.
Leading to the inevitable correction or crash. We push the limits because it feels okay, only realizing where the edge was after we've gone over.
Precisely. And it's not just financial markets, it's a fundamental pattern. National security, personal health.
Think about modern life, generally about as safe as it's ever been in many developed places.
Right. That staggering 94% decline in infectious disease deaths since 1900.
An incredible human achievement. But it has this weird side effect.
It made the world less equipped to handle them, maybe not medically, but certainly psychologically.
What was a tragic but expected part of life a century ago is now almost inconceivable for many.
Yeah, Clark Welton's memories of the 30s and 40s. Mumps, measles, chickenpox, polio, all common. No vaccines, real fear.
Contrast that with generations today, protected from birth, expecting that widespread illness just doesn't happen anymore.
Exactly. So this comparative calm, this long period of safety and low perceived risk.
Meant that when COVID-19 hit, it was just shocking and overwhelming for so many.
Because few in recent generations really believed an infectious disease would dramatically impact their lives, the societies.
Even though epidemiologists had been warning for years.
Yeah, warning that a pandemic was when, not if, but mostly to deaf ears.
The irony of good times. Calm breeds complacency, skepticism of warnings.
It's what Carl Jung called enantiodromia. An excess of something gives rise to its opposite.
Like California's record rain in 2017.
Perfect example. Led to that unprecedented super bloom of vegetation. Beautiful abundance.
But then, a dry 2018.
And all that record growth became dry kindling. Fueled massive, devastating wildfires. Too much of a good thing, calm and plenty, paradoxically created the conditions for disaster.
That's a powerful counterintuitive idea, and this tendency to push beyond sensible limits let calm plant seeds of crazy.
Wow.
It's not just societal.
Applies to individual endeavors, too.
Yeah, there are inherent limits to scaling. A good idea pushed to extremes, on steroids, can quickly become terrible.
More isn't always better. Faster isn't always more efficient.
JBS Haldane's work on biological scaling.
Brilliant stuff, showing that for every type of animal, there is a most convenient size.
His flea example. Jumps 2 feet, amazing for its size.
But if a flea were man-sized, it wouldn't jump thousands of feet. Air resistance, muscle strength relative to mass, energy needs. They don't scale linearly. Physics changes.
Or the wet mouse versus the wet fly.
Right. A wet mouse lugs its body weight in water, gets sluggish. A wet fly gets pinned by surface tension, can't move. Same action, getting wet. Vastly different problems at different sizes.
There's a most convenient size, a state where things work well but break catastrophically when pushed too far.
We see this starkly in investing time horizons, too.
The U.S. stock market nearly always rewards patience over 10 years or more.
That's its most convenient horizon, maybe? Long-term trends, compounding effects kick in, volatility smooths out.
But compress that time horizon. Try to get rich quick in a year or two.
You increasingly rely on luck and tempt ruin. The desire to speed up returns, scale success faster than natural cycles allow. Almost always backfires.
Trying to make that flea jump 1,000 feet.
Yeah, and the same principle shows up in nature with tree saplings. A profound metaphor.
The slow-growing ones under the canopy.
Patiently waiting for light, develop dense hardwood, strong, resilient, built to last.
Versus the fast-growing ones in open fields.
They gorge on sunlight, prioritize rapid vertical growth, but produce soft, airy wood, prone to disease, breakage.
As the forester Peter Wohlleben wrote,
A tree that grows quickly rots quickly, and therefore never has a chance to grow old. Stark.
biologists even found trees with artificial, supercharged growth early on die 15% earlier than average.
Why? Tissue damage, resources diverted from maintenance and repair, compromising long-term viability for short-term gains.
So the key takeaway is simple, but hard to internalize.
There are no points awarded for difficulty when pushing beyond natural limits.
We need to recognize the power of enough, the dangers of trying to speed things up or scale beyond their natural convenient limits.
Whether that's economics, finance, business growth, even nature itself.
It raises that important question for you, the listener. How do you differentiate between striving for healthy, sustainable growth
And pushing beyond a most convenient size in your career, investments, personal projects.
knowing when to stop pushing when enough is truly enough? That might be the secret, not just to success, but to avoiding catastrophic failure. Okay, let's explore some really uncomfortable but undeniably powerful truths now about human nature, societal progress. We often assume the biggest progress, the most important innovations happen when things are good, everyone's comfortable, resources are abundant.
Seems logical.
But our source material suggests the profound opposite. The biggest changes and the most important innovations don't happen when everyone is happy and things are going well.
Instead, it's stress, pain, discomfort, crisis that act as these unbelievably powerful catalysts.
Adversity focuses your attention in ways that good times can't.
Yeah. When things are easy, motivation can fade. We innovate incrementally, maybe, but face an existential threat. Ingenuity kicks into overdrive.
Richard Nixon surprisingly observed that what makes life mean something is purpose, a goal, the battle, the struggle.
And entrepreneur Andrew Wilkinson echoed that, saying, most successful people are just a walking anxiety disorder harnessed for productivity.
The fear, the pain, the urgency of struggle, motivators that positive feelings just can't match.
They forge necessity. And necessity. Well, it's the mother of invention.
A tragic yet ultimately transformative example, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire, 1911.
Horrific event.
One of NYC's biggest industrial tragedies. 146 garment workers died, mostly young immigrant women. Factory doors locked.
Trapping them inside when the fire broke out. Many jumped to their deaths.
It's horrifying. Frances Perkins, who later became Secretary of Labor, witnessed it from the street.
That experience must have been searing.
She was profoundly moved by a sense of stricken guilt to prevent this kind of disaster from ever happening again. That personal shock, that disgust.
Became the beginning of a workers' rights movement that transformed the 20th century.
Perkins herself linked it directly to the spirit of the New Deal. Tragedy becoming a powerful, if awful, catalyst for huge social and legislative progress.
Would those changes have happened as quickly without that horror? Probably not.
We also see this incredibly clearly in the military. Historically, an unparalleled engine of innovation.
Early cars and planes. Military saw them as tools for war first.
Can we mount a machine gun on that? Can we drop bombs?
The source lists, radar, the internet, microprocessors, jets, rockets, GPS, antibiotics, countless foundational technologies.
Well developed directly by or heavily influenced by military necessity. Why?
Because militaries, especially in wartime, face really big problems that need to be solved right now.
The incentive is absolute. If we don't figure this out right now, we're all gonna die.
That fuels the most incredible problem solving. Money, resources, manpower. Often obstacles in civilian research become secondary when survival's at stake. The urgency changes everything.
And it's not just war. Think about the 1930s, the Great Depression, economic devastation everywhere.
Yet, paradoxically,
The most productive and technologically progressive decade in U.S. history. Output up 40% with no increase in hours worked.
necessity birthing innovation on a massive scale.
Road construction surged. Rural electrification transformed farm life, freeing up labor.
Supermarkets, laundromats. Convenience is now, born from the need for efficiency and cost saving then.
Factory efficiency hit an amazing 41% as companies desperately squeezed every resource.
High school graduation rates surged too, partly because young people couldn't find work, so stayed in school.
And governmentally, you couldn't have pushed through something as radical as the New Deal.
Which still shapes our economy and social contract.
Without an economy so wrecked that people were desperate to try anything to fix it. Hardship, in its extreme forms, can be the most potent catalyst for dramatic change.
But while progress can be born from adversity, the human cost.
Yeah.
It leaves a profound, lasting imprint.
Which brings us to that uncomfortable truth. Wounds heal, but scars last.
Yeah, physical damage gets repaired, economies recover, buildings are rebuilt.
But mindsets are harder to repair than buildings and cash flows. People's beliefs, expectations, outlooks, deeply shaped by experiences, especially trauma, and those imprints linger.
Strikingly clear in studies of WWII and Great Depression survivors.
WWII survivors, 3% more likely to have diabetes, 6% more depression, less likely to marry, less satisfied with life years later.
The trauma fundamentally altered their long-term well-being.
And Frederick Lewis Allen on depression survivors, gnawed at by a constant lurking fear of worse things yet.
Craving security above all, dubious about taking chances.
This shaped their views even in the booming 50s, a decade later. The college generation of the 30s, described as fatalistic, unadventurous.
Their individual experiences, amplified by collective trauma, molded a whole generation.
And after WWII, Europe, physically devastated, developed robust welfare states, universal health care, unemployment insurance.
Driven by a deep craving for social and personal security, born from that collective trauma, the collapse of old structures.
Those same robust policies never quite caught on in the U.S. the same way.
Fundamentally because Americans hadn't experienced that same degree of existential societal collapse on their own soil.
That difference in shared experience highlights Housel's critical point.
That most debates are not actual disagreements. They're people with different experiences talking over each other.
We approach everything through the lens of our own unique historical and emotional landscape.
So the key takeaway here is that personal experiences can permanently reset your expectations and change behaviors that were previously ingrained.
Explains why we see such deep divisions in viewpoints, politics, personal choices.
It pushes us to ask, how do your past experiences, especially tough ones, shape your current beliefs, fears, decisions?
And maybe more importantly, how can you approach disagreements with more empathy?
Asking not why are they wrong, but
What if you experience that I haven't that makes you believe what you do?
it's challenging for sure,
Yeah.
but ultimately a more productive, more human way to navigate a world of differing perspectives. Hashtag tag outro.
And that really brings us full circle, doesn't it?
It does.
As we've explored today, the world's surface, it's constantly shifting. New tech, new challenges, new opportunities coming at us dizzying speed.
But beneath all that,
The underlying currents of human behavior. Our fundamental responses to greed, fear, surprise, adversity. They remain, as Morgan Housel puts it, same as ever.
these are the timeless truths, the deep patterns that persist regardless of the era,
So the real value of studying history, then, isn't trying to predict the next big thing.
which we've learned is largely impossible anyway.
Right. Instead, it's to look backward and be broad, to understand these timeless behaviors, these recurring human reactions.
As Housel said, the more history he read.
The more comfortable I became with the future. By understanding what never truly changes, you get this powerful, steadying lens to view whatever complex, surprising future comes next.
That's a great way to think about it.
We want to leave you with some final provocative thoughts. Questions inspired directly by Housel's work, something for you to mull over, explore on your own.
Okay.
Ask yourself, am I prepared to handle risks I can't even envision?
That's a big one.
What hassle am I trying to eliminate that's actually an unavoidable cost of success?
Ooh, good one. challenging our desire for ease.
And perhaps most profoundly, what strong belief do I hold that's most likely to change?
Wow. That requires some real honesty.
Yeah. These aren't meant to have easy answers right away.
No, they're about encouraging that continuous self-reflection, a deeper understanding of the world.
True insight often comes from recognizing how these timeless forces interplay.
And acknowledging that our unique, often unmeasurable experiences are really at the heart of our individual perspectives, shaping everything.
From personal happiness to societal structures.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Keep digging. Keep asking those tough questions.
And most importantly, keep learning. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Book Summary Podcast. If you found value in today's episode, hit that like button, subscribe for more summaries, and share it with someone who's ready to grow. Want deeper insights, exclusive book notes, and reading tips? Join our free newsletter. The link's in the description. And don't forget, if you'd like to read the full book, our affiliate link is right below. It helps support the channel and keeps the summaries coming. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing.